Hello, BookTube. Welcome to Revenant Reads. I'm Vin, and today I'm coming at you with a massive book haul. These are the books that I got this month. This is a stack. You can see, you can't see a couple of the ones that are a little bit lower. I don't usually get this many books in a month. This just happened to, I guess, be a lucky month, although I don't think my TBR would consider it lucky. It's already ridiculously long. Actually, the books you can see up there are technically part of my TBR. My library downstairs is filled with books that almost all of them I've read. Usually when I finish a book, it goes down into the library. So my bedroom here where I'm filming, because it's the only quiet place in the house right now. My kids are downstairs right now. You'll probably be able to hear them at times because my daughter can be loud. They're right next to the library, so I can't really film in there. So I am up here in the bedroom, hidden away at my desk, and I'm just going to go through some of the books that I got, all the books that I got this month. All arrived through the mail. I think there's a pretty big variety here, and I do hope to get through at least a good chunk of these within the next year as I add them to my great big TBR list. Some of these are ones that I've been wanting to get to for years that I finally was just able to access, very cheaply. Some of them are ones that are very new to me but seem very intriguing. I'm going to go too far in depth in these. Of course I can't because I haven't read them, but talk a little bit about them, maybe read the back, okay? And if you have read any of these, maybe you can let me know what you think of them. All right, so the first one is The Face of Death, A Study of Agincourt, Waterloo, and the Somme by John Keegan. And I believe this was originally published in, I think, the 70s, actually. He's got a note here from 1974. It says, The Face of Battles and Military History from the Battlefield, a look at the direct experience of individuals at the point of maximum danger. Without the myth-making elements of rhetoric and xenophobia, and breaking away from the stylized format of battle descriptions, John Keegan has written what is probably the definitive model for military historians. And in his scrupulous reassessment of 3 battles representative of 3 different time periods, he manages to convey what the experience of combat meant for the participants, whether they were facing the arrow cloud of Agincourt, the musket balls of Waterloo, or the steel rain of the Somme. So, I do have a general interest in military history. Honestly, the Agincourt one is one that I'm most interested in, but I am interested in a lot of these other ones as well. So, in addition, looks like there are, in addition to the text, looks like there are some helpful maps. There are some images. I'm a fairly passive individual for the most part, but historical warfare does interest me. It is essentially, it is an essential part of our history. And to really understand a lot of these past civilizations, especially the Middle Ages, you got to confront their war. So I'm looking forward to this one. So the next book, everybody I'm sure is familiar with, 12 Years a Slave by Solomon Northrop. Pretty nice Penguin Classics edition. Cover. Of course, a free African-American pre-Civil War who's abducted in the North and brought down south into slavery. One I've been meaning to get to for a long time, and I am looking forward to that. This one, another classic. Okay, Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. An Indian History of the American West. Just a classic. One that, again, I've been meaning to get to. I would like to get into more, especially Native American studies. This will be, I think, a good introduction. It's, something that's kind of, I think, part of the canon. People have experience with this, please let me know. This is Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. It is D. Brown's eloquent, meticulously documented account of the systematic destruction of the American Indian during the second half of the 19th century. A national bestseller in hardcover for more than a year after its initial publication, it has sold almost 4 million copies and has been translated into 17 languages. Using council records, autobiographies, and first-hand descriptions, Brown allows great chiefs and warriors of the Dakota, Sioux, Cheyenne, and other tribes to tell us in their own words of the battles, massacres, and broken treaties that finally left them demoralized and defeated. A unique and disturbing narrative told with force and clarity, bury in my heart at Wounded Knee, changed forever our vision of how the West was really won. So, again. Here's another one. Fiction now. Richard Matheson, A Stir of Echoes. Last year, I had read The Shrinking Man. I had read I Am Legend years back. Both of them I find very impressive. I am a big fan of ghosts and haunting stories, so I'm looking forward to this. I mean, this is originally written in the 50s. It says, Tom Wallace lived an ordinary life until a chance event awakened psychic abilities he never knew he possessed. Now he's hearing the private thoughts of the people around him and learning shocking secrets he never wanted to know. But as Tom's existence becomes a waking nightmare, even greater jolts are in store as he becomes the unwilling recipient of a compelling message from beyond the grave. This was made into a film of the same name starring Kevin Bacon back in 1999, and one that I think is pretty underrated. I always really liked that film, and I think Kevin Bacon actually presented a pretty good performance in there. Yeah, looking forward to reading the original novel. Here we go, another work of fiction, horror, Ghost Story, Peter Straub. This was originally written, came out in 1980, or 1979, one of those. I have seen the film version of this. Again, came out in I think 1981 is when that film came out, I believe. And it's a very nice slow burn. Back cover reads, what is the worst thing you've ever done? In the sleepy town of Millburn, New York, 4 old men gather to tell one another stories. Some true, some made up, all of them frightening. A simple pastime to divert themselves from their quiet lives. But one story is coming back to haunt them in their small town. A tale of something they did long ago, a wicked mistake, a horrifying accident, and they are about to learn that no one can bury the past forever. I've never read anything by Peter Straub, and good place to start, I think. This one seemed interesting. I didn't really know much about this. I saw this very cheap. I think I got this one off of Book Outlet. I think that's where I got a lot of these ones, pretty cheap. And it just seemed very, very interesting. This is Battling the Gods, Atheism in the Ancient World. I do identify as an agnostic atheist. I'm a kind of secular humanist. I do have some Norse pagan proclivities, but I am otherwise a person without any kind of religious faith. And I am interested to see how that has played out in the past, especially in the kind of Greco-Roman pagan world, where, a lot of times the pagan religions, it wasn't about what you believed, it was about what you did. You didn't really have to believe in the gods a lot of times. You didn't have to like the gods, but you had to make sure that you worship them. Otherwise, your neighbors are going to be looking at you when their crops are failing. So it was really about action, not necessarily about faith. At least that's been my understanding for the most part from the things that I've read. So I'm really interested to see what this says. It says, although adherents and opponents alike today present it as an invention of the European Enlightenment, when the forces of science and secularism broadly challenged those of faith, disbelief in the gods, in fact, originated in a far more remote past. In Battling the Gods, Tim Whitmarsh journeys into the ancient Mediterranean, a world almost unimaginably different from our own, to cover the stories and voices of those who first refused the divinities. Whitmarsh provides a bracing antidote to our assumptions about the roots of free thinking. By shining a light on atheism's first 1,000 years, Battling the Gods offers a timely reminder that non-belief has a wealth of tradition of its own, and indeed its own heroes. There is kind of a companion piece, not in actuality, but in spirit, that I have also in this pile. That we'll get to. Next is another classic, Black Like Me, by John Howard Griffin. This is one that I think I read. I have vague memories of this book from school. I'm talking like from, maybe early high school. I don't know if we read it or just read about it. When I say read in high school, I didn't read a lot of those books. I kind of just skimmed them. But I'm going back to a lot of them now, now that I'm older, to appreciate them. This says, In the deep south of the 1950s, a color line was etched in blood across Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Georgia. Journalist John Howard Griffin decided to cross that line. Using medication that darkened his skin to deep brown, he exchanged his privileged life as a Southern white man for the disenfranchised world of an unemployed black man. What happened to John Howard Griffin from the outside and within himself as he made his way through the segregated Deep South is recorded in this searing work of nonfiction. His audacious, still chillingly relevant eyewitness history is a work about race and humanity every American must read. And if I remember correctly, I believe that medication, I think it did him in the end, unfortunately. But one that I'm meaning to get to. I'm glad I have it now. All right, and the next book is The Crusades, The Authoritative History of the War for the Holy Land by Thomas Asbridge. 900 years ago, a vast Christian army summoned to holy war by the Pope rampaged through the Muslim world of the Eastern Mediterranean, seizing possession of Jerusalem, a city revered by both faiths. Over the 200 years that followed, Islam and Christianity fought for dominion of the Holy Land, clashing in a succession of chillingly brutal wars, the Crusades. Here for the first time is a story of that epic struggle told from the perspective of both Christians and Muslims. A vivid and fast-paced narrative history that exposes the full horror, passion, and barbaric grandeur of the crusading era, revealing how these holy wars reshaped the medieval world and why they continue to influence events today. So I do have an interest in medieval history. It tends to be more Dark Age, pre-Christian, or at the cusp of conversion. But I do want to fill in the gaps, learn more about the Crusades and the High Middle Ages, and learn more about that whole period of history. But it's be a good place to start. Next, we got a work of fiction. One that I've been meaning to get to. Another one. Got The Terror by Dan Simmons. There was a miniseries based on this on AMC. I have not watched that yet. I very rarely get to TV shows. I am an avid, I do like movies. I do watch tons of horror films every year. I do have a horror movie discussion podcast. That's one of the reasons for that. But I don't see a lot of TV. But anyway, I wanted to read the book first. So it says, the men on board the HMS Terror, part of the 1845 Franklin expedition, the first steam-powered vessels ever to search for the legendary Northwest Passage, are entering a second summer in the Arctic Circle without a thaw, stranded in a nightmarish landscape of encroaching ice and darkness. Endlessly cold, they struggle to survive with poisonous rations, a dwindling coal supply, and ships buckling in the grip of crushing ice. But their real enemy is even more terrifying. There is something out there in the frigid darkness, an unseen predator stalking their ship, a monstrous terror clawing to get in. I love history. I love horror. I love when they mix. This is not a short read, but again, one that I'm really looking forward to, that I do hope maybe I'll get to this year. I am not sure. Here's another big book. This one is newer. One of the newer books that I have in this pile. A lot of people, of course, know about this one. David W. Blight's Frederick Douglass, Prophet of Freedom. This is a nice, very beautiful hardcover edition. I'm really amazed by the quality of that photograph of Douglass. It's really stunning. I have not read any of Blight yet, but I am very much looking forward to this biographical treatment of Douglass. Next, we got The Greatest Story Ever Told So Far. Why Are We Here by Lawrence Krauss. Work of science. I do enjoy Lawrence Krauss. I've read his The Science of Star Trek, and also A Universe from Nothing. He has kind of become a very outspoken atheist, critic of religion, and that certainly bleeds into a lot of his scientific work. I'm okay with that. It does tend to fall in line with the way that I see the universe, even if it's certainly more provoking than I would be. But I do find that he has a good knack for explaining difficult mathematical concepts in astrophysics and everything. in a very manageable way. He does present things very clearly, which is great because I suck at math. So anyway, yeah, I think I'll get to this one this year. Here is that companion piece to that one about ancient atheism, and this is Village Atheists. This is from Princeton University Press. It's How America's Unbelievers Made Their Way in a Godly Nation. I don't want to read the whole cover here and bore everybody, but just a little bit here. A much maligned minority through American history, atheists have been cast as a threat to the nation's moral fabric, barred from holding public office, and branded as irreligious misfits in a nation chosen by God. Yet, village atheists, as these godless freethinkers came to be known by the close of the 19th century, were also hailed for their gutsy dissent from stultifying pieties and for posing a necessary secularist challenge to the majoritarian entanglements of church and state. Village Atheists explores the complex cultural terrain that unbelievers have long had to navigate in their fight to secure equal rights and liberties in American public life. Very interesting to me. I really look forward to this one. This is another one that I got from Princeton University Press. Both of these I got from a sale that the press was having. So I got these actually pretty cheap. But this one is, this goes in line with my horror interests, more of an academic take in horror that I really enjoy. And that's The Origins of Monsters, Image and Cognition in the First Age of Mechanical Reproduction by David Wengrow. I will say, out of all these books, this whole pile, this is the one that I may be most intimidated by. It's the one that I am not entirely confident that I'm going to be able to comprehend. The first one here, so the inside flap is, it has often been claimed that monsters, supernatural creatures with bodies composed from multiple species, play a significant part in the thought and imagery of all people from all times. The Origins of Monsters advances an alternative view. Composite figurations are intriguingly rare and isolated in the art of the prehistoric era. Instead, it was the rise of cities, elites, and cosmopolitan trade networks that monsters became widespread features of visual production in the ancient world, showing how these fantastic images originated and how they were transmitted. David Wengrow identifies patterns in the records of human image making and embarks on a search for connections between mind and culture. If I'm being perfectly honest, I'm not entirely sure I grasp everything that paragraph was getting at, or exactly what I should expect from this. I'll only know when I go through it. It's not obviously a long book, so when I get through, I'll let you know. Here are next three are from Palgrave Macmillan. Publish academic works. Generally, their books are very expensive, but I got these at a really good sale that they were having. I also had a $20 coupon credit, so one of these, with the sale, one of these books is actually free. And they're all related to horror studies. This is The Films of Stephen King, all right, from Carried a Secret Window, edited by Tony Magistrale. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But it definitely has some works, or some essays, I should say, about some of the films that I'm particularly interested in. One of the ones that really stood out to me was, let's see, where was it? Yeah, this one. The Lonesome Autoerotic Death of Arnie Cunningham in John Carpenter's Christine. I love the title of that essay, and it is one of my favorite John Carpenter films, after The Thing, or at least horror films. But anyway, looking forward to this. The next one, again, also from Palgrave, is Technology, Monstrosity, and Reproduction in 21st Century Horror by Kimberly Jackson. I have read another work by Kimberly Jackson about 21st century, more like a gender studies, that I enjoyed, and I've also read many essays by her. This says, dealing with a variety of 21st century horror films, Kimberly Jackson examines how the technologically produced and reproduced image functions as a site of monstrous birth. These monsters, threatening and ominous as they may be, represent the possibility for a renewed belief in the reality of the world and humanity's place within it. Through a wide spectrum of horror subgenres, this book examines how the current state of horror, its sense of being at an end, its increasing self-awareness, and its concern with the relationship between media and message, reflects these anxieties in Western culture. Horror films bring them to a mass audience and offer ever new figures for a nameless, faceless antagonist that plagues us. At the same time, horror provides material with which to build a different understanding of ourselves, its monsters representing ends but also beginnings. So, again, not terribly long, but should be some good stuff in there. And this one, very entertaining cover. Got PostModern Vampires, film, fiction, and popular culture. And Sorsha Nifalane, I mean, that looks kind of Gaelic to me, and I don't know how to pronounce any of that, so I'm very sorry if I butchered that. Postmodern Vampires, fiction, film, and popular culture is the first major study to focus on American cultural history from the vampire's point of view. Beginning in 1968, the author argues that vampires move from the margins to the center of popular culture as representatives of the anxieties and aspirations of their age. Mapping their literary and screen evolution onto the American presidency from Richard Nixon to Donald Trump, this essential critical study chronicles the vampire's blood ties to distinct socio-political movements and cultural decades in the late 20th and early 21st centuries. So, sounds interesting. Figured, hey, give it a shot. Here is another academic work. This one is from University Press of Mississippi, one that I've been wanting to get for a long time. Hearths of Darkness, the family in the American horror film. I do tend to have a larger interest, especially in horror films dealing with hauntings and with ghosts, and a lot of times those relate to the nuclear family, to gender roles, to the home and suburbia. So this is kind of right up my alley with that. There is no blurb on this one, but it does go through, it looks like, the 20th century and the way that families have been looked at within the horror film. So I expect that to especially cross over to some of my specific interests. And it's one that I've seen referenced quite a few times in works that I really enjoy. So looking forward to this. The last two are big books. This book isn't technically for me. I got this for my wife. This is Hamilton, The Revolution. All about the play Hamilton. Very nice book. Got this actually pretty cheap. I think it's originally $50, and then it was 50% off on Amazon, and then I had like a bunch of credit points. I think I ended up getting it for maybe $10. But really, it's really for my wife. She loves the play, and her and my kids are singing it nonstop throughout the house. I like the play, but I'm not the Broadway fan that she is. But still, I am a history fan, and I am curious to read through this myself. I'll definitely take a look at it, especially because I don't know much about Broadway, and I figured this will definitely give me some insight into how these things are created, and maybe some of the background of some of the songs, maybe some of the lyrics I wasn't picking up on. So I'll definitely check this one out. And the last one is by James M. McPherson, the very respected Civil War historian. Hallowed Ground, A Walk at Gettysburg. A nice, looks like more like a coffee table book. I've read some McPherson. I have not read Battle Cry of Freedom yet, but I have read his work on Antietam. I read a Drawn with the Sword, a collection of essays. And I have some of the other books I need to get to. But very, very nice images. We've been thinking as a family of heading to this summer, maybe going to Gettysburg, Lancaster County, that sort of thing. This will be a really nice one to go through. In order to prepare us, maybe to help guide us through the battleground. This one I got fairly cheap. I think this might have been from Hamilton Books. I only got it for a few bucks. And it'll be perfect too, because I have been reading some stuff on Gettysburg with my son. He's been having a little more of an interest in history. So those are the books that I got this month. It's a lot. I will definitely be getting through some of them within the next few months. I'm not sure exactly which ones yet, but I got my work cut out for me, and that's in addition to the absurd list I already have. So none of these exactly have priority over the other. But if you have read any of them, I'd love to know your thoughts. All right. Thank you very much.